Hello. Welcome to all of my dearest fishies. I hope you're ready for some reading today. Congratulations to Wood on redeeming first in chat yet again. I'm a little early? No, I'm not early. Not today. Let's take a moment while the ads are playing. Take a sip of water. Stretch. Stretchies, chat. Stretchies. Happy Saturday to you. And I hope you're looking forward to the reading that we have in store for us today. Stretchy, well, that's because my hand tracking is not very great. Here. Big stretchies. Oh, that got my back. Are you guys tired too? Me too. Let me double check some of the back end things. Hello, Star. We are going to be reading a special book today because this one is the first time we're really getting to feature an author who has been doing a lot of work to promote their book and posting TikTok videos and showcasing what the story has in store for us. This is the first author that we've found outside of Twitch. We found Perlazul. Perlazul actually found us on Twitch. And they are the author of Mal, which we finished reading Mal yesterday. Today we are going to be reading Drown the Stars. And this is one that I have been really looking forward to. Fish. Not only is there fish, but there is also puzzle. If you would like to work on the puzzle, just say the word puzzle in Twitch chat. Hello, welcome to all of our fishies watching no matter what platform you're on. I hope that you are all snug in your blankets and ready for some more reading today. Because we have a new story to begin today. Posture check already. Wow. Fine. Jeez. I'll be postured. Okay. All right. Welcome. Thank you so much to everyone for joining us today. We are reading Drown the Stars. This is written by Quiana Chase. And I do need to pull up a email real quick because this will have some very important information for me as I read some pronunciations. Okay. I just needed to, double check on these. All right. Sweet. We're all ready to go. I'm ready to go. Are you ready to go? Put a 1 in chat if you are ready to begin the story. We've got a brand new story for you today. This is a sci-fi fantasy in which our main character is a survivor of war. We'll go with that. A survivor of war and has been knighted. But we will see that not everything is as it's claimed to be. There is going to be a variety of things happening in this book. So if you are concerned about any form of trigger warning, you can try the commands in chat, ! triggers or ! TW. If you would like to know the name of the book and author, ! book, or you can say the word book. I do also want to point out, if you are not already aware, we have a giveaway that is in progress going until April 10th. So to enter into the giveaway, you need to take clips of streams during this time frame and comment on social media videos during this time frame. You also must be a member of my Discord server in order for your entries to count. Without further ado, it looks like Harrison is ready, Khalil is ready, Wood is ready, Nightcall is ready, Lugal is ready, Shatter is ready. Alright. Let's begin. Drown the Stars by Quiana Chase. For Amanda. Thank you. Content warnings. This book contains violence, gore, grief, loss of limbs, children in peril, death of a young adult, mentee/student, sexual themes and propositions, manipulation, power imbalance, profanity, social prejudice and discrimination. My dearest daughters, I know this letter will probably never reach you, but I'm going to send it anyway. I can't help but be furious and overwhelmed with the sickening truth that you've been sent to die. And for what? The broken pride of the crown. Lokma, as dangerous as it is, has barely achieved space travel.
They are no threat to us if we can just leave them alone. If the crown, may they dry out and burn, would just accept that this is one war they can't win, instead of turning the cliffs of Walkmore violet with the blood of our daughters and sons, maybe Zivia would be a bearable place to live. Years ago, I made peace with the fact that your mother and I would never see your faces again. But I always hoped that you would live a good life instead of dying like this. Face your end with your chins up high. We will do everything we can on our end to make sure your ghosts never mingle with those who did this to you. Don't forget who you are. Vane, you carry the legacy of Weepers on your shoulders. It's a good legacy. A brave legacy. No matter what anyone says. Iris, you carry Vane. Love, forever and ever, your Papa, Dasso.
My beloved daughters, I'm not sure what to think. We mourned you. We wept for you. We held funeral services for you. We released your souls into the sky from Draxus and prayed you'd make your way to the oceans. We are not fools. We know what it meant. We know what it means to be stationed on Walkmore. If you truly are alive, and your last letter was not the result of some cruel joke played on grieving parents, please understand our hesitation. The story spun to us is wild, too wild, to be believed without question. I know my daughters. I know they would never forsake their pride and roots to work for the same people who murdered their brother. But if I am wrong, then I would prefer this tale to be true rather than the one we currently believe. I can't speak for your father. You know how he feels about the crown. You know how he feels about the crown. So, please, forgive him. Forgive him if he lashes out at either of you. He thinks you're just stoics who thought it would be funny to impersonate his dead daughters. I pray that you are truly alive. If not, you are worthy of mourning. Your mother, Teelin. Part 1. Butcher. One. 2 weeks post Walkmore.
7 years before assassination. Vane hadn't done anything worthy of knighthood, yet here she was. "Remember," her sister Iris said, affixing an ostentatious mantle to Vane's shoulders. "You have to pick a liege. Do you have one in mind?" "Do you have one in mind?" Vane shook her head. She didn't want to be celebrated for what she'd done. It hadn't been honorable or noble or brave or anything the Crown had described it as over the past 2 weeks. She'd been a coward. She'd just wanted to get out. "Well, you better decide quickly," Iris said, putting a trident in Vane's hand. "Who you pick as your liege will tell the Crown how you intend to serve them. You want to be proud of yourself, but not too proud."
"Why can't they pick for me?"
Vane asked softly. The trident didn't feel right. She tightened her grip on it, the webbing between her fingers concealed from sight.
"I don't want to choose something like this. I don't want to choose anyone. I don't."
Iris grabbed Vane's shoulder in one hand and cupped her chin with the other, forcing her to look down into her older sister's eyes. "Hey, look at me. Do you know what this means? What you did?"
"That I'm a murderer,"
Vane whispered. "It means we never have to go hungry again," Iris said. "We're going to live in a real house. We'll be able to send almost as much money as we want to our parents. You're getting a job in the royal palace. The royal palace, Vane. It doesn't even matter that you're a weeper. You still get to work in the palace." Vane squeezed her eyes shut as her throat constricted.
"I don't want to work in the palace."
"Then what do you want? Do you want to starve?" Iris pulled away and examined herself in the mirror, straightening out her already pristine double-breasted uniform. "Do you want to be arrested by the authority against treason? Do you want to keep getting bullied until someone makes you cry and you earn another Weeper's Mark?"
"No,"
Vane said. She chewed on her lower lip and pulled her hair back. She was going to be sick. No, she was sick.
"I just want to be an engineer."
"Well, too bad. You've been promoted." Iris put her hands on her hips. "Admiral Iris. Way better than Ensign Iris, don't you think?"
"It does fit you,"
Vane agreed. She wasn't even upset that Iris had been granted the rank of admiral, while Vane hadn't.
"You're very authoritative. You make good decisions. Why don't you just tell me who I should pick as my liege, and we can pretend I was the one who chose it?"
"How old are you now? 17? 18?
Iris didn't turn away from the mirror and gathered her massive curls into a bun at the nape of her neck. The frilled tips of her blue ears poked through the navy-colored hair like spearheads. "I should probably get my hair cut." "I don't remember,"
Vane said, though it was a lie. Vane said, though that was a lie. They'd turned... I'm making so many mistakes.
Let's take a sip. Drink your water. Drink your water, chat. I'm looking at you. Me? I'm cute? I think you're wrong. What are you gonna say about that? Am I wrong or are you wrong? The question then is, are we both wrong? I don't remember, Vane said, though that was a lie. She'd turned 19 almost a year ago. In 3 months, she'll be 20. She'd be 20. Well, you're old enough that I don't need to... Well, you're old enough that I don't need to make every single choice for you, Iris said. So make your choice. This is a very rare opportunity. Usually knights don't get to pick their lieges. Then I'll choose the queen. The sovereign crown of Zivia probably had so many knights she wouldn't know Vane existed. Okay, well, I knew I was going to pronounce something wrong. Zivea. Then I'll choose the queen. The sovereign crown of Zvea probably had so many knights she wouldn't notice Vane even existed. You could, but that's the obvious choice, Iris said, pulling her hair through the tie. I'm picking the king. It still might be too bold. If they had any relatives left, I'd choose those. What about Crown Zalen? Vane asked. The heir to the throne was still a child, probably no older than 10. She likely wouldn't make any intense demands. That sounds like a good plan, honestly. Iris split her ponytail into sections and began the process of braiding it. That would prove your dedication to the crown without making you look full of yourself, since she's a child and all. Since she's a child and all, I still don't understand why they're letting us choose, Vane said. She ran her thumb along the trident's shaft. Calmly, I'm sorry, I gotta get back into focus because, oh my goodness, I'm making so many mistakes. I gotta take a deep breath. This is fine. We're fine. Everything's fine. It's fine. No yaoi. No yaoi. I still don't understand why they're letting us choose, Vane said. She ran her thumb along the trident's shaft, calming herself by reciting the components. Ceradium capsule, regulator, backup regulator, Tegnaz crystal, all separated from her fingers by a thin layer of metal, providing a practically infinite source of power. One that, when applied properly, had the capability to... That's what they promised the commander who led us to a ground victory against Walkmaw, Iris said, snapping Vane out of the static. We weren't commanders, Vane said. I'm a private. You were private. I'm sure Zavo would have loved to take credit for your work, but he's dead. This time, it was Iris's turn to freeze and stare uncomfortably at the floor, hands still buried in her hair. They're all dead. Vane had already known that, but the realization hadn't hit until now. Until then. Every one of the troops who had initially stormed Walkmaw were dead. She and Iris were the highest-ranking surviving officers because they were the only survivors. We killed them. No, you killed them, Iris said. I didn't do much except get you into that tunnel. Vane wanted to vomit. Listen up, Iris said. What happened to them was a lot more merciful than what the Saar were going to do to them, to us. Vane held back a groan and tugged on her mantle, which was made of a net far more expensive than the simple tie she was accustomed to wearing around her neck. But no longer. She was important. She was going to be a knight. Oh, tears. She was going to be a knight. Maybe we could run away. If you suggest one more cowardly thing, I will personally pick you up and throw you through a window. Vane's gut response was a snarky one, but she bit it back as Iris finished tying up her hair. I think we just need war paint, then we'll be ready to leave. And then we'll be good to leave, Iris said. Do you want me to do yours? I think we just need war paint, and then we'll be good to leave, Iris said. Do you want me to do yours? Vane gave a brisk nod. I want my Weeper's mark to be purple, since we can afford different colors now. Don't be ridiculous, Iris said, grabbing the new paint box provided by the palace. Apparently, there was one in every guest room. It's bad enough you have a mark at all. The purple doesn't even fit. Mom's still alive. I wasn't just crying for her, Vane said. I was crying for Sanvo too. He's dead. I can use violet. Absolutely not. Iris flipped open the box and sighed deeply, though whether it was with contentedness or exasperation was impossible to tell. Using any color other than black for your Weeper's mark screams that you're still proud of your heritage. But I am, Vane thought. She was proud of her mark, no matter what Iris believed, and she'd probably wear it even if failure to apply it didn't guarantee a one-way ticket to a prison moon. Still, she understood where Iris was coming from. The goal was to stay alive, after all. Okay, but I want to apply the Weeper's mark myself. You can do the rest of it. Iris narrowed her eyes. You can trust me, Vane promised. I won't do anything that will make me stand out more or put a target on us. Iris reluctantly handed Vane the box. Vane went to work with mixing a new color from the violet and black paints, until she had a purple so dark it was imperceptible from black unless looked at very, very closely. Satisfied, Vane dipped one of the silver-gilded brushes in the paint and drew a single dark line beneath her left eye, thicker at the top, thinner to almost a point at the bottom. Her hands did not shake as she drew the single, perfect line. The instant she lifted her brush from her skin, however, the tremors began again. She was satisfied. Iris did the rest of Vane's paint. 3 lines from lid to brow, dark blue in symbolism of service to the crown. 1 line straight from ear to ear, crossing over the bridge of the nose, white in symbolism. White. Okay. 1 line from ear to ear, crossing over the bridge of the nose. White in symbolism of loyalty. 3 white diamonds on the forehead, between the eyes, and directly above the nose. Iris's paint was identical, Weeper's mark excluded. Ready to go? Ready to go? No, Vane admitted, but I will anyway. She pat the pockets of her dark, blast-resistant jacket to confirm her tour. Oh dear heavens. I don't think today is it's just not my reading day. What book we are reading? Drown the Stars by Quiana Chase. I will do this book justice. I will do a good job of reading. I am literate most of the time. Right, chat? I'm literate. I'm a good streamer sometimes, most of the times. Kind of. Maybe. Iris did the rest of Vane's paint. 3 lines from lid to brow, dark blue in symbolism of service to the crown. 1 line from ear to ear, crossing over the bridge of the nose, white in symbolism of loyalty. 3 white diamonds on the forehead between the eyes and directly above the nose. Iris's paint was identical, Weeper's mark excluded. Ready to go? No, Vane admitted, but I will anyway. She pat the pockets of her dark, blast-resistant jacket to confirm her tools were still inside, and took a deep breath to ready herself. Good girl, Iris said, clapping her sister on the back.
She handed Vane a blast dagger, which she shakily slipped into the sheath at her belt.
Is that necessary? I already have this.
Vane hefted her trident, which felt wrong in her hand. Iris nodded. Absolutely. You actually know how to use a dagger.
You don't think anyone will try to attack us, will they?
Vane asked.
Because
it doesn't hurt to be prepared. Iris grabbed a blast spear off the wall and pushed open the doors of the palace suite, revealing the most incredible hallway Vane had ever seen. Veins of platinum. Woo, 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 woo. Veins of platinum wove their way through walls made of marbled resin and coral wood, twisting around massive floating spheres of water filled with plant and animal life. An aqueous carpet, 4 inches deep, coated the floor and swirled with luminescent algae. 2 members of the Crown's own guard stood outside the door, offering her a salute as she and Iris passed through. "At ease," Iris said, clasping her hands behind her back. Tears. Iris was a natural at this. She hadn't even seen more than 5 battles, but she still sounded like a seasoned admiral. Vane did her best to imitate her sister, keeping her posture stiff and erect, holding her weapon in a deliberate manner, maintaining the cool expression of a killer. "Of course, Ensign Iris," the guard said to the left, straightening up. "We are to escort you and Private Vane to the ceremonial chambers." Iris waved her hand in a strong, firm movement. "Proceed." As Vane fell in line behind her sister, she did her best not to gawk at her surroundings. They'd taken a different entrance to get to the guest quarters, so all of this was new. New, and a lot of stuff of fairy tales. It had to be mostly tricks and holograms. There was no way anyone actually lived like this, using gravity control for decor. Right? Right? If her father were here, he would sneer and say how happy he was the Crown took half his money to show off. Vane would have to tell him that in her next letter. "Good news, Papa. All your taxpayer pearls are going to excellent use. I feel more like a peasant now than ever." She found her mouth twitching into a little smile, and quickly rectified once one of the guards saw her and scowled. A high-pitched shriek echoed down the hallway, and something zipped inside the carpet at Vane's feet. Years of instinct built catching fish in the rivers behind her house made her momentarily forget where she was. She dropped her trident and snatched up the creature in the water, only to find herself holding a toddler by the foot. Vane almost dropped the kid out of shock, but managed to hold onto him as he thrashed and screeched in her arms. "You!" The cry came from a woman who stood at the end of the hallway, wheezing as she bent over with her hands clutching her knees. "You... get..." The woman swayed a little and angrily approached, words lost in her heavy breath. By the time she reached Vane, the toddler had decided the best course of action was to go completely limp. He nearly slipped out of her arms, but she managed to maintain her grip. The kid's tiny feet wriggled, as if he were still swimming, and sported boots that perfectly molded around his feet and ankles. "I like your boots," Vane said. The kid's eyes lit up, and he put his hands on his hips, completely unbothered by being upside down.
"Thanks. They're new. My favorite boots. I love them. Do you love them?"
"I do," Vane said, though she'd started the conversation by stating she did. It was only then that she noticed the copper threads woven into his mantle. Oh, tears. This was Prince Rakva. "Thank you for apprehending the prince," said the out-of-breath woman, slowly approaching. She walked with a limp, one dramatic enough that she likely needed a cane. "I'm his caretaker, Salakin. Rakva has been especially difficult this morning."
"I won't go to the ceremony,"
the young prince said, swaying back and forth, arms dangling.
"You want to know more about my shoes? They're antiquities."
"Antiques," the exhausted caretaker said. "The word you're looking for is antiques. And I promise you they are not indeed antiques." Rakva blew out his cheeks and slapped his hands against them, producing a fart noise. Vane flipped him right side up and gently lowered him to the ground, trying to hold back panic. She'd touched a prince, a deity. She scooped him up like a minnow in a stream. While she wasn't well versed in palace procedure, she was pretty sure "don't touch the royalty without permission" sat high on the list of rules to be obeyed at all costs. There was no way this would end well for her.
"Do you know my shoes? These shoes?"
I gotta find a better voice for Rakva. Also, my throat is dry. It seems like no matter how much water I drink, my throat is dry. Maybe today is not a good reading day.
"Did you know my shoes? These shoes?"
No. How do I do this better? How can I do this better? What does a 2-year-old prince sound like? I think my voice mayhaps not be good for streaming today. Mostly mumbles and a few words. Okay.
"Did you know my shoes?"
Can they even say shoes? Can 2-year-olds say shoes? Or do they go
"Shoes. Did you know my shoes? Shoes. These. Did you know my shoes? These shoes?"
What 2-year-olds know this much? I don't know, man. I'm not a 2-year-old. Ooze? Okay. But this is for an audiobook, though. Like, how do we branch what is realistic with... Alpha Yeti, thank you so much for the 11 months. Thank you. Mama Steph, what were you like at 2? I was a very talkative child, apparently. It has been a while, Alpha Yeti. Apparently, I was a very talkative child, and my mom hated taking me to the grocery store. because I would say hi constantly.
Hi, 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 hi.
I would just wave and say hi to everyone. Hi, Akira.
Did you know my shoes? These shoes? Did you know they make me swim faster?
Rakva asked, lifting one foot to point at it. This was no easy feat. The water was above his waist. I can see that indeed, Prince Rakva, Vane said. Where did you get them? He stared up at her, eyes wide, like she'd given him the keys to the universe.
You actually want to know?
Of course I do, Vane said. It didn't even matter that he was a prince. He was a kid. And when a kid got excited about something, you asked more questions. The same rule applied even more for royalty. Didn't it? The caretaker, Salakin, scooped up the prince in one arm and offered a salute with the other, finger pressed horizontally between the top of her nose and the end of her forehead. I apologize for the interruption, officers. If you'll excuse us. She briskly walked away as fast as her limp could take her.
I don't know where I got them,
the kid shouted, squirming in Salakin's arms until his arms draped across her shoulder blades, facing Vane.
They just sewed those up in my closet with magic.
I put them there, Your Highness. I put them there, Your Highness, Salakin said, words barely audible. Now, shh.
Salakin put them there with magic,
Rakva said, scrambling to crawl out of Salakin's arms.
I found out they fit in the...
Salakin slapped a hand over his mouth and increased her pace until they both disappeared from view. Apologies, the guard on her left said with a snort, resuming his stoic walk. There are rumors Her Majesty is contemplating moving him to another palace until he learns to stop being so disruptive. His eldest sister never exhibited this kind of behavior. What behavior? Vane thought. Has anyone in this palace ever met a kid before? She kept thinking about it even as they took the warp pad to the ceremonial throne room. Vane had only used a warp pad a few times in her life before, and she'd always gotten sick after. These resulted in a flash of blue light from the floor and some gentle nausea, but it was so minor in comparison to what she already felt that she didn't notice. What? Hold on. You were built for streaming and saying hi to chat then? I'm not gonna lie, I thought Steph was interpreting little baby Steph. Oh, me continuing to read.
With my boots? Did you see my boots?
No, I definitely just loved saying hi to everyone. And apparently, according to my mom, always making noise. I won't live that one down, that's for sure. Iris, of course, wasn't fazed at all. Nothing fazed her. She kept her head high
and shoulders rolled back even as they entered the throne room. A dome hundreds of feet high stretched upward, covered in massive murals that were only slightly distorted by the crystalline water clinging to the ceiling and every wall, held back with artificial gravity. Enormous squid and frill-tailed eels danced within, winding around pillars made of marbled coral that flowered when it entered the water above. And yet it was nothing in comparison to the throne, which stood like a citadel made of enormous waves carved of platinum and flying out from the seat built for one. For now, it was empty. For now, it remained empty, but a man in a cobalt uniform bearing the insignia of the crown's emissary stood at attention in the center of the room. Vane hastily bowed to him, finger pressed up against the center of her forehead, even before she registered that he was the most important person in the galaxy beside the Crown family themselves.
"Ensign Iris," the emissary said. "Private Vane."
He sounded so disappointed. Vane wasn't sure what he expected. She'd been in the wrong place at the wrong time, and the worst part was that she couldn't tell anyone that. "Emissary Cadet," Iris said. She bowed herself even lower than Vane. "Are there any elements of this ceremony we should be aware of that we don't already know?"
"At ease," Cadet said.
"At ease," Cadet said, waving his hand. He turned his attention to the liquid bioband wrapped around his wrist, which displayed the time and glowing green numerals.
"Nothing has changed since the last rehearsal, but I'll repeat your instructions to ensure you don't forget. Ensure you don't forget. The sovereign crown will enter. You will bow, but you will not kneel. Her Majesty will call you to the foot of the throne. Then you will kneel. When Her Majesty asks you who you have chosen as your liege, you will respond. She will draw your blood. You will then be knights of the crown and will proceed to swear your oaths to your lieges while the sovereign crown bears witness."
"Understood," Iris said. Vane said nothing for fear the wrong words would escape her mouth. Cadet looked up from his bioband. Face ever so slightly tugged in a disapproving scowl.
"Private Vane," he said, "do you understand?"
Yes, sir," Vane said. "I do, sir." Cadet slowly blinked.
"The Queen should arrive shortly. In the meantime, greet the many guests who have been invited to watch the ceremony."
They waited an hour. Vane's legs cramped up, but it was nothing in comparison to the anxiety that racked her soul with every official that entered the throne room, ready to size up both the butchers for their meat. She did her best to keep her expression still, like Iris did, and to bow deeply, like Iris did. Any hope that she would be able to gauge the emotions of others quickly faded. These were nobles who had never wept in their lives and never had their parents or grandparents. They probably had no emotions to hide,
no nakedness to conceal, and here she was, feeling like the only thing she wore was a bag with a hole cut in the top. At this point, she didn't know what was worse, if the truth about what she did was revealed or if it wasn't. Either way, she wouldn't have to think about it. Either way, she wouldn't have to think about it if she somehow passed. Either way, she wouldn't have to think about it if she somehow passed out in the next 2 minutes. Her thoughts clawed at her brain, her heart, her soul, threatening to pull her under and drown her. Are you kidding me? TikTok and their stupid... I am so sorry that this stream is constantly getting distractions and mistakes and going back and repeating. I hate having to stop constantly. Oh, Alpha Yeti, you're fine. You're fine. What do you mean, are we locked? What does that mean? Oh, the camera change? Yeah, we're just locked to this one camera. However, if you do ! Lights, that will change the lights. You didn't force me to stop. It was TikTok. The TikTok app does that. Hello, Dylan. You think I sound... if you ever watch JJK, you sound like Mei. I've never watched JJK. Okay. I think my throat might be too dry to like really do effective reading today. Oh yeah, no, you're good. I can see it a bit in the sound, hear it. How does one become a VA? I'm certainly not the best resource to ask that. I'm still trying to become one. But the amount of practice and auditioning and building a repertoire, and that's it. That's how you do it. Her thoughts clawed at her brain, her heart, her soul, threatening to pull her under and drown her. But the yell of a toddler interrupted her demise. Why are we in the boring room, Salakim? Vane's attention had been so devoted to appearing halfway presentable that she hadn't noticed the prince or his caretaker enter. They were accompanied by a young girl in a netted mantle interwoven with gold and silver threads. She held her head high, and each step she took barely caused ripples in the carpet. Definitely the most stoic child Vane ever had seen. Vane had ever seen. The product of a weeperless world. That had to be Crown Zalen, Vane's new liege. She remained silent and still while her brother attempted to cause all kinds of havoc and mischief. Salakin did her best to keep him under control, but he seemed determined to remain an agent of enthusiastic... Oh, dear heavens. Salakin did her best to keep him under control, but he seemed determined to remain an agent of enthusiastic chaos. After a few moments of failing to stand still, the prince looked up and saw Vane. His eyes lit up, and he bolted to her, slipping through his caretaker's grasp once more. Vane backed away, but it wasn't any use.
The kid barreled into her and squeezed her legs.
"You're the one who listened to me,"
he said, voice muffled. "Do people not listen to you, Your Highness?" Vane asked, unsure if bowing in the situation would be respectful or insulting. Rakva responded by biting her kneecap. Nom 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 nom. Rakva responded by biting her kneecap. Salakin gasped and pried him away, glowering at the kid with murder in her eyes. "Oh, we listen," the caretaker said through gritted teeth. "We don't have much of a choice. I will tell your mother about this." Every ounce of mischievousness in the kid's face evaporated, and he shrank back. Vane did not like that. "There's no need," she said quietly. "It didn't hurt." "We can't have him biting future knights of the court," Salakin said. "He's the spawn of gods," Vane said. "He can bite people if he wants." She did not actually believe that, but something about the kid's situation felt off. Salakin scoffed. "When the end of the day comes private, you will outrank me. But for now, you have no right to tell me how to do my job." Vane shrank back and nodded in submission. Iris watched in disapproval, and the look in her eyes told of a lecture that was sure to come once they were alone. When the throne room was so full that the servants were forced to step inside the walls of water, lining the halls and open up their gills, a rush rippled through the deafening chatter until all was quiet. Every head lowered in a bow, and every finger pressed to the forehead in salute. Vane followed suit, though she didn't see which member of the court had entered, nor where they stood. Whoever it was, they needed no introduction, no announcement, no fanfare. Just their presence was enough. If Vane were to take a guess, it would be that the queen had entered the throne room. The same queen who became the sovereign crown at 19 years of age after being born the 12th of 14 children. Though the throne hall was filled with hundreds, if not thousands, it remained silent enough that a single spoken word filled the entire space. "Arise!" Vane waited for Iris to do so, and then obeyed the command, risking a glance toward the place where everyone's gaze was now fixed. There stood the queen, in robes that gathered about her, in robes that gathered at her elbows and caressed the ground, floating lightly on the carpet of water. Her platinum mantle wound around her shoulders, and then her waist, and draped behind her like a net made of stars. A simple crown rested atop her head, and she exuded a cold, perfect confidence. She was magnificent. Vane's heart pounded even faster than it had before, and she swallowed, an odd warmth spreading across her face. She barely even noticed the man standing behind the queen, in robes ostentatious enough to be part of the I'm gonna turn into a duck.
This is what happens. This is what happens when you become illiterate on twitch.tv. Anyway. Don't look disappointed at me. Someone said I need to put more power in the word arise. Don't worry. Don't worry. You'll become more familiar with the queen. You'll get it.
She was magnificent. Vane's heart pounded even faster than it had before, and she swallowed, an odd warmth spreading across her face. She barely even noticed the man standing behind the queen in robes ostentatious enough to be part of one of the forbidden plays. 3 months ago, the queen said to the silent crowd, the crown promised knighthood and a place in the palace to anyone who earned a grand victory at Wakma. Today we fulfill that promise. She extended a hand, gesturing to Iris and Vane. Anyone who hadn't been looking at Vane and Iris before certainly was now. Thousands and billions of eyes taking in every movement she made, every blemish on her skin, every evidence she was a coward. If they knew how much of a coward she was, they'd turn on her. They'd turn on Iris. So instead of shrinking away, Vane lifted her chin and stared back. She might have been little more than a terrified child, but they didn't need to know that. Bear witness to this. The crown keeps all our promises, even if. The queen said those last 2 words definitely. Definitively. The queen said those last 2 words definitively. Wait. This entire endeavor was not an honor for her and Iris. It was a show of humiliation. Humiliation for them. Humiliation for the officers who had failed and failed and failed to take any ground at Wakma. The queen didn't care about honoring those who had done her a favor. She cared about crushing the dignity of anyone who didn't fulfill expectations. Vane almost felt angry. More than anything, though, she was just annoyed. She wished that the officers here had just done their job and found a way to win so Vane had never needed to go in the first place. It wasn't like it had been difficult. Surely one of them could have figured it out if they spent more than 2 minutes researching the natural resources of Wakma. It would have taken so little time, so little effort. And yet they couldn't have been bothered. So now, they all have to live with the fact that Vane was a... So now, they all had to live with the fact that Vane was a butcher. Vane had blood on her hands when it should have been on anyone else's. Vane had nightmares about what she'd done, but none of the people in this room would have thought twice about the death or the suffering they caused. How dare they? How dare they leave it up to her, a cowardly weeper, to do what needed to be done and force her to live with the guilt? Ensign Iris, the queen said. Step forward.
Iris went up obediently, kneeling at the foot of the throne. She didn't appear to have yet made the same realization Vane had. The queen held out her hand, and Cadet reverently pressed a decorative spear into it.
Ensign Iris, you have been given the opportunity to choose your liege. Have you decided who you will serve?
Yes, Your Majesty,
Iris said.
Oh my god, my throat is starting to hurt now.
I think it might be how dry the air is, unfortunately.
Yes, Your Majesty, Iris said. Though the queen's movements were slow and deliberate, Vane still flinched when the queen put the spear on Iris's shoulder and let the tip's edge graze the side of her neck.
Speak the name of the one you have chosen to follow.
Crown Kada, Iris said. King of Zavea. The queen lifted her spear and gently licked the side of Iris's cheek, drawing a single thin line of violet blood. Vane tensed up, but Iris pressed her forehead against the dry stone dais.
I anoint you a knight in service to the crown. Rise, Sir Iris, and stand with your new liege, the queen said. Prepare yourself to take the oaths. If you do not wish to swear them, you may leave.
Another twinge of annoyance. The exact oaths themselves had never been rehearsed. Neither she nor Iris knew exactly what they'd be swearing to do. Not like it mattered. If Iris worried the same way Vane did, she didn't show it. She stood up with the stiff elegance of a soldier and took her place next to the king, who almost appeared bored.
Private Vane, the queen said. Step forward.
Vane obeyed. She had to. She knelt against the unnaturally dry ground, and the annoyance she felt earlier melted away in the face of fear, with the sight of the spear still tipped violet with her sister's blood.
Private Vane, you have been granted the opportunity to...
The queen hesitated, just for a moment. Against her better instinct, Vane looked up into her eyes. The tiniest of creases infiltrated the space between the queen's brow ridges, and her eyes squinted as she stared at Vane's cheek. The violet weeper mark she'd noticed. Well, it was over now. Vane would die proud of her heritage, if nothing else. She raised her chin, exposing her jugular for the queen to thrust her spear through.
Choose your liege,
the queen said, face returning to that stony, blank mask.
Have you decided who you will serve? Vane's gaze flicked over to the crown heir, who stood as emotionless as her mother pretended to be. Beside her, the young prince tried to fit his entire fist in his mouth and was reprimanded with a rap on the head. "I have," Vane said, "Your Majesty." "Speak the name of the one you have decided to serve." "Heir Rakva," Vane said. "Child of the crown. Child of the crown." Zaylin didn't need her. Rakva, on the other hand, someone needed to be in his life who didn't care that he was just a kid. The crease between the queen's brows grew a little deeper. Her bloody spear sliced up along Vane's weeper's mark, getting dangerously close to her eye. Vane flinched back, forgetting that she was supposed to remain completely stoic no matter how the crown tried to She was supposed to remain completely stoic no matter how the crown tried to intimidate her. "I anoint you a knight in service to the crown. Rise and stand with your new liege." The queen pulled her spear away from Vane's face, and all creases in her expression disappeared. "Prepare yourself to take the oaths. If you do not wish to swear them, you may leave." Vane nodded, then remembered that one didn't nod at the queen, and offered a hybrid bow salute in hopes that it would do something to rectify her mistake. She shuffled to the side of the royal line, past the king and Zaylin, where the prince had yet to notice her.
"Hello,"
he said, before being shushed by Selakin.
"It's you again."
"Yes," Vane whispered. "It's me." The rest of the ceremony was a blur. As she made her oath to serve and protect Rakva, she could feel Iris's disapproving glower bore into her back. The glower, subtle to anyone who didn't know Iris, continued until the ceremony ended and the throne room emptied even faster than it had been filled. Vane was still convinced she made the right choice. "Hey," Prince Rakva whispered, tugging on the tails of her uniform. Vane knelt down, bowing her head. "Yes, my prince?"
"Did you know that when I hold my hands up to the light, they glow?"
Rakva lifted his hands toward the floating sphere of biowater illuminating the throne room. Light shone through the blue membranes between his fingers, transforming the thin skin into a warm purple and showcasing his tiny dark veins. "Fascinating. Fascinating," Vane said. Rakva grinned at her before Selakin scooped him up and marched away, shooting Vane a stony look that could easily be interpreted as a threat. "Sir Vane." Though her first instinct was to jump at the sound of Kadat's voice, Vane instead slowly rose, turning to face the Queen's emissary with a solemn blink. "Yes?" "As a knight in the Crown's entourage, you have your pick of duties. Your expertise would be most suitable in an administrative role. Maybe in the power or data department, and your services as a tactical officer would also be useful. I have a more extensive list detailing the potential jobs you could take." "Tutor," Vane said quietly. "I'd like to be a tutor." Kadat squinted at her, a lock of yellow hair straying from its place and falling in his eyes. "I'm sorry? Sir Vane, you are no longer a member of the peasantry. You may have whatever job you desire.
Anything that suits the station of the crown... Anything that suits a station of a crown knight...
I know, Vane said. Iris would hate this, but Cadet had made it very clear that she could have any job she wanted. I want to be Prince Rakva's engineering tutor.
Perhaps you don't understand. Prince Rakva doesn't have an engineering tutor. In fact, none of the royal children have ever been taught engineering before.
Cadet spoke slowly, like one would do a small child.
I could perhaps arrange for you to train them in combat, but engineering? The entire point of the prince being taught by you would be for him to become as deadly as you are.
Then I would teach him how to be an engineer, emissary. Cadet looked like he wanted to argue further, but he sighed instead, scribbling something on the pad of biowater clutched in his left arm. He wandered away, muttering something under his breath. He wanted her to play the game. He wanted to put her in a position she was woefully unqualified for, where she would make a fool of herself and be ejected before the month was out, and replaced by someone the crown actually wanted in power. If she was going to be forced to exist in the palace, it would be doing something she enjoyed. It would be doing what she was good at. Vane had a feeling that this was the part where the rest of the crown officers would come and congratulate her and Iris. But the instant the ceremony was over, there was a massive and immediate exodus from the throne room. It suited her. Vane fished around in her pocket for a stim watch, which she peeled free of its covering and swiped over the spot on her cheek where the queen's spear had cut it open. The stim patch's panels clicked into place around her skin, tightening before transforming into a perfect replica. The stim patch's panels clicked into place around her skin, tightening before transforming into a perfect replica of her own flesh. Iris hadn't done anything about her own cut, and the tiny wound still bled freely. Under different circumstances, Vane would insist that her sister patch it up immediately, but Iris likely wanted to keep it as long as possible, probably to avoid looking weak or something. Vane might have cared about that years ago, before she had her weeper's mark. Now, she'd just accepted the fact that no one would ever see her as anything but a disgrace, and in order to maintain her sanity, she'd just learned not to care. Iris, though, Iris cared. Iris cared a lot. Vane just wanted to go home, wherever that was. She took inventory of the room, trying to find an excuse to leave. The king had already disappeared, likely vanishing down the private corridor he'd arrived from. Cadet was still deep in conversation with Iris, and he seemed far more pleased with her choice of occupation than with Vane's. The queen was coming directly towards her. When Vane stepped aside, bowing, the queen didn't pass by. Instead, she stopped. Vane's throat went dry. She glanced up, remembered that was definitely not something she was supposed to do, and silently cursed herself. "Sir Vane," the queen said, "you may be at ease." Vane straightened up, trying not to flinch. "Your Majesty." "I have a request," the queen said, overlooking the congested stream of nobles and officers trying to get through the door. "Next month, I will be leading a kraken hunt. It is a very exclusive event." Vane nodded, hoping that would end the conversation. I would like to extend an invitation to you, the Queen said. Vane had never been on a hunt before. She'd like to keep it that way. Would it be better to accept the Queen's offer or refuse? Either way, it certainly disrupted her plans of hiding in the shadow of the second-born and praying she'd be forgotten. What would Iris do? Iris would do whatever the Crown wanted, and do it without question. I would be honored, Vane said. However, I must be honest. I have no experience or training in something like this. The Queen flippantly waved her hand, light catching the jewelry adorned the tips of her fingers. The Queen flippantly waved her hand, light catching the jewelry adorning the tips of her fingers. You don't need it. You are the butcher of Wakma. You are a butcher of Wakma. Right. Okay. This still made no sense. Knight or no, she was not important enough to go on a hunt or be put in charge of anything. My sister may be a better choice for a mission such as this, Vane said. I'm not. Are you questioning the decision made by your deity? The Queen asked, lifting her chin. Of course not, Vane lied. But I'm not. Someone like me isn't exactly an example of Zevea's best. The Queen blinked, and a tiny expression betraying surprise flashed across her face for barely a moment. You baffle me, Sir Vane. Thank you, Vane said, only realizing too late that was the last thing she should have said in response to something that was definitely not a compliment. Oh, tears. She was going to get executed on the spot, wasn't she? This was a brilliant plan of the Queen's. Elevate a weeper above her own officers to humiliate them, then place that weeper in a situation after situation. Then place that weeper in situation after situation where she'd keep stumbling, providing an excuse to eject her from the court as soon as possible. 1 month. The Queen turned away, hands clasped before her. I don't want your sister. I want you. That made Vane's stomach flutter a little bit. How do you say that, like, formally? That made Vane's stomach flutter a little bit, though she kept reminding herself that being noticed by the Queen was the opposite of a good thing. This was probably a punishment for applying her weeper's mark in violet. I am honored, Vane said, bowing again. She wanted to vocalize her concern with the Queen's judgment, but a tiny scrap of self-preservation within kept her silent. Cadet will be in touch, the Queen said. In the meantime, I presume you will be joining the tacticians? No, Your Majesty. Vane flinched, her remaining courage draining away. I requested the role of tutor. Tutor? Sir Vane, you are allowed to do any job in the entire palace. I understand. I chose to be a tutor. The Queen stared. She stared until the bustling room became empty and silent, except for their breath.
Vane swallowed, waiting to be dismissed. After clearing her throat, the queen turned away, hands laced together.
In addition to the hunt itself, many people of importance will be showcasing their abilities, including your new liege. If you attend, I request that you take charge of his section of the showcase.
Of course, Vane said, completely unaware of what that entailed. She waited for Her Majesty to move on to something more important and leave her alone. Instead, the queen only stared, expression unreadable. Vane longed for the bravery to steal more than the gentlest of glances. That was the first chapter. I'm gonna stop there because for some reason my brain is just not, my brain is not working for this today. So, of how many chapters? That's an excellent question. I don't want to interrupt, but you're a phenomenal voice actor. I can't wait to binge watch your YouTube. Oh my god, you think so? Really? Thank you. Oh, that just made my day. Oh my god. Thank you. That is so long for a chapter. It doesn't help, to be fair, it does not help that I was stumbling the entire way. Not saying, not trying to, I'm not being mean to myself. I'm just pointing it out. That's kind of hard to, read when I keep making mistakes. Okay, this. There is not a page of contents. However, I am scrolling through. I can tell you that there are 352 pages in the book and 20 chapters. So according to this, there are 20 chapters. Yeah, so it was a long. The page count is also going to change because I need to increase the font size, and I need to make it, a dyslexic font that is easier for reading for me. So chapter 2 starts on page 22. So we are on page 22. Did you ever get to reading my poems? I think so. That was a while ago, right? That was a long while ago. It's Jax. It's probably, yeah, it was a long while ago. I think I have a backlog of 90 videos for my editor to get through right now. Oopsie, but I think that your poems are included in that backlog of videos being edited. I know that we are not yet at the 2-hour mark,
Yes, Jax. I know that we're not yet at the 2-hour mark, but based on how much I really struggled to get through that first chapter, I think that I should probably end stream where we are right now. You know, my throat is very ouchy right now. So, when we come back Thursday, I will do a ASMR, like, relaxing stream. I'll be playing Stardew, but Stardew is a wonderful game to listen to in the background as you fall asleep. So Thursday I will play Stardew, but Friday and Saturday we will continue reading Drown the Stars. Send you to your grave. If you redeem Siren Singing, I would just refund you the points right now. I'm sorry. My voice actually hurts right now. Yes, I'm also using your game suggestion. We're gonna play Stardew. I get to show you guys my mega modded Stardew save. Yes. And then you just get to listen. Hi, Father Slice. It's good to see you. Welcome back. Thank you for joining me again. So, I do hate to leave you already. I know we are not yet at the 2-hour mark, but I think I need to give my voice a rest because it really does hurt. So let me see who we have available to raid. If you are watching on Twitch, we are going to raid out !raid and copy the raid message. If you are interested in joining the giveaway for prizes, remember that you can join the Discord server. You can comment on my social media videos, and you can take clips of our live streams from now until April 10th. And each clip and each comment on social media posts will result in an entry in the giveaway. So, thank you. Thank you so much for listening to me today. I wish that I would have been able to do my absolute best for you. If you are watching on TikTok, Kick, or YouTube, the stream is just going to end for you. But no worries, if you miss me between now and Thursday, you can check out my YouTube where I have edited readings and all of my VODs going all the way back to the beginning of last year. So there's always more StephTsu content to consume. But anyway, this is the part where we say our goodnights, our goodbyes, and our see you tomorrows. I will be back again Thursday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time Zone with some Stardew for you to listen to as you work, solve puzzles, or go to sleep. If you want some more content, check out my YouTube. There's plenty more available for you to watch and listen to. Thank you so much to all of our new followers, all of our new friends, and all of our new fishies. Join the Discord server. You'll get notified for what you choose to be notified for, I promise. Pinky promise, we do not blow up your inbox. And aside from that, until I see you next time, please drink your water, eat your food, be kind to yourself and others, and take care of yourself. Good night.